Hello, everyone, and welcome to Easy English Talks podcast. Today, we're diving into talking about travel. Um, you know, travel experiences in English. If you're learning English, this is going to be a really fun and really useful episode for you. It'll help you have more interesting and engaging conversations.
It's so true. Travel is a universal language, and even if you're still learning English, sharing those travel stories can really help you connect with people from all over the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And so let's kind of unpack this a little bit.
Mm.
Imagine you're sitting with a friend, maybe you're sipping some coffee, and you want to tell them about this amazing trip you took. Where do we even begin?
I think a lot of people just start with, like, I went to Paris. But, think of it like setting the stage, for a captivating story. Maybe you would say, my trip to Paris last spring was, or one place that really captured my heart was, you're instantly drawing your listener in.
Oh, I like that. It's like we're already there. We can picture the cobblestone streets and the smell of croissants in the air.
Exactly. And once you've set that scene, you can start layering in, those vibrant details about the destination itself. But here's the thing. Instead of just listing adjectives, think about appealing to your listener's senses.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
For example, instead of just saying the food was good, you could try something like, the street food in Thailand was a symphony of spicy, tangy, and savory flavors that danced on my tongue.
Wow, okay, that is a world of difference. You're not just telling me about the food, you're making me taste it.
Exactly. And you can do the same with sights, sounds, even smells. It's about painting a vivid picture with your words.
I love that. And what about talking about all the cool things that we did on these trips? I mean, it's not just about standing still and admiring the view, is it?
Absolutely not. This is where you can share your personal anecdotes, those little moments that made the trip special. But again, it's all about how you describe them.
So instead of simply saying, I went hiking, how can we make it more engaging?
Well, instead of I went hiking, you could try something like, as I hiked through the ancient redwood forest, the sunlight filtering through the towering trees, it felt almost magical.
Okay, I'm getting goosebumps just hearing you describe that. It's like I'm right there on the trail with you.
And that's the power of, descriptive language. It allows you to just transport your listener right into the heart of your experience.
So we've got the scene set. We're using our senses to describe the place we're sharing those exciting moments. But travel is about more than just sightseeing, right? It's about those deeper insights we gain along the way.
You're so right. It's about immersing yourself in the culture, observing the locals, and maybe even challenging your own perspectives.
So how do we weave those observations into our travel stories without sounding like we're giving a lecture?
Well, you can try incorporating phrases like, one thing that really struck me was, or it made me realize that, for example, you could say, in Japan, I was amazed by how respectful and considerate people were, even in crowded spaces. It made me realize how much we value, personal space in my own culture.
That's such a great example. It's not just a random observation. It's a reflection on cultural differences, and that just adds so much depth to your story.
Exactly. And sometimes those insights come from unexpected challenges or those funny mishaps along the way. Those can be real conversation starters.
Oh, yeah, those moments where things go hilariously wrong. Like that time I tried to order a coffee in Italy and ended up with a plate of spaghetti.
See, those stories are relatable. They add a touch of humor and make you seem more human, even when you're speaking in another language.
I love that. So we've talked about setting the scene, describing the destination, sharing activities, and even incorporating those insightful moments. How do we keep the conversation flowing from there? What if I want to learn more about their travel experiences?
This is where asking the right questions can make all the difference.
Okay, so instead of just talking about my trip, I should be asking things like, what was your favorite place? Or did you try any new foods that you loved?
Exactly. But you can even take it a step further by asking those open-ended questions that encourage them to share more.
Give me an example.
Instead of, did you enjoy the food? You could ask, what was the most surprising or memorable meal you had on your trip? Or instead of, did you like the city? Maybe you could say, what was it about the city that really resonated with you?
Wow, those are great. It's like giving them a gentle nudge to dive deeper into their own experiences.
And you might be surprised by, the fascinating stories they have to tell.
I love how this deep dive is not just about improving our English, it's also about encouraging that genuine connection and, those shared experiences.
Absolutely. And that's what makes language learning so rewarding.
We've covered a lot of ground already. From setting the scene to asking insightful questions, it feels like we've packed our bags and are ready for an adventure. What stands out to you as the most important takeaway for our listeners so far?
For me, it's the realization that even if you're still learning English, you can have those really rich and engaging conversations about your travels. It's all about finding your voice and using descriptive language and connecting with your audience on a personal level.
Beautifully said. It's a reminder that language isn't just about grammar rules, it's about sharing a part of yourself with the world.
And who knows? You might even inspire someone else to embark on their own adventure.
That's a wonderful thought. We'll be back after a short break to delve even deeper into the art of talking about travel in English.
It's interesting how even those negative experiences, like, getting lost or missing a flight, can become some of the most entertaining travel stories.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like those unexpected detours lead to the most memorable moments.
Exactly. And it's all about, how you frame those experiences. So instead of saying, my flight was delayed and it was awful, maybe you could say, while I was waiting for my delayed flight, I struck up a conversation with a local artist who showed me some hidden gems that I never would have found otherwise.
Oh, I see what you mean. It's about finding that silver lining, the unexpected twist that makes the story more compelling.
Right. It's kind of like those travel bloggers who, they always seem to find adventure around every corner.
And speaking of those travel bloggers, I've noticed that they often use really evocative language to describe their experiences. It's like they have a secret stash of, amazing adjectives.
It's true. They understand the power of using words that, evoke emotions. So instead of saying the view was pretty, they might say the panoramic vista from the mountaintop was absolutely breathtaking.
Yeah, it's like they're painting a picture with their words, using those vibrant colors to make the scene come alive.
Precisely. And you can do the same even if you're not a professional writer. It's about experimenting with different words and finding the ones that resonate with you.
So instead of always reaching for those usual suspects like good or nice, we should be digging a little deeper into our vocabulary treasure chest.
Exactly. And you can have fun with it. Instead of delicious, maybe try scrumptious or mouth-watering. Instead of beautiful, perhaps use exquisite or stunning.
Okay, I'm already feeling more confident just thinking about all these, colorful words. But what if we get stuck? Are there any tools or resources that can help us expand our descriptive vocabulary?
Absolutely. There's those fantastic online dictionaries and thesauruses that can help you find just the right word. And, don't be afraid to borrow phrases from books, movies, even those travel bloggers that you mentioned.
That's a great tip. It's like we're surrounded by inspiration. We just need to kind of open our eyes and ears to the language around us. What about grammar? I sometimes stumble over tenses when I'm trying to describe past events or future plans.
Don't worry, that's a common challenge for English learners. The key is to practice, consistently and just pay attention to those different tenses.
So instead of getting bogged down in the rules, it's more about getting those words out there and experimenting with different structures.
Exactly. The more you practice, the more natural it will become. And remember, even native English speakers make mistakes sometimes.
That's reassuring. It's like we can give ourselves permission to play with the language, have fun with it, and not be afraid to make a few mistakes along the way. But speaking of practice, are there any specific exercises or techniques that can help us improve our travel storytelling skills?
One fun exercise is to choose a photo from one of your trips and try to describe it in as much detail as possible. Imagine you're talking to someone who's never seen that place before. What would you want them to know?
Oh, I love that. It's like bringing those memories back to life and giving ourselves a mini storytelling workout. And what about practicing with a language partner or a friend?
That's an excellent idea. You can take turns sharing travel stories, asking each other questions, giving each other feedback.
It's like having a built-in audience to test out our new vocabulary and storytelling skills. And I bet it would spark some amazing conversations and maybe even inspire future adventures together.
You got it. Sharing our travel dreams and aspirations can be just as exciting as talking about past trips.
Speaking of future plans, how can we use the tips we've learned today to talk about those places we long to visit someday?
Well, instead of just saying, I want to go to Italy, you could say, I dream of strolling through the ancient ruins of Rome, savoring a scoop of gelato by the Trevi Fountain, and losing myself in the vibrant energy of the city.
Wow, that's so evocative.
Mm.
I can practically feel the sun on my skin and hear the chatter of the crowds. It's like you've transported me right to the heart of Rome.
And that's the magic of descriptive language. It allows you to not only share your travel dreams, but to bring them to life for yourself and for others.
I love that. It's like giving ourselves permission to dream big and to use language to paint those visions for the world to see.
And you never know, by sharing your dreams, you might just inspire someone else to, turn their travel aspirations into reality.
That's a beautiful thought. It's like we're all connected through this shared love of exploration and discovery. But before we get too carried away with our wanderlust, let's bring it back to the present moment. What are some key takeaways that our listeners can start using right now to improve their travel conversations?
One important takeaway is to embrace the power of storytelling. Remember, it's not just about reciting facts, it's about weaving a narrative that engages your listener.
That's a great point. It's about finding the story within the experience, those moments that made it special and unique.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to experiment with language. Try using those vivid adjectives, those sensory details, those phrases that really capture the essence of your travels.
It's like we're all artists, and language is our palette of colors. We can mix and blend those words to create our own masterpieces.
And most importantly, remember to have fun with it. Let your personality shine through and don't be afraid to make mistakes.
That's such great advice. It's like giving ourselves permission to be playful with the language and not take ourselves too seriously. Well, we've covered so much ground in this deep dive, from setting the scene to dreaming about future adventures. I'm feeling inspired and ready to take my travel conversations to the next level. But before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to add?
I think the most important thing is to remember that talking about travel is all about connection. It's about sharing those experiences that have shaped us, those places that have touched our hearts, and those moments that have made us laugh, cry, or simply stand in awe.
I couldn't agree more. It's about using language as a bridge to connect with others, to share those stories that make us human, and to inspire each other to explore the world around us.
And even if you're still learning English, don't let that hold you back. Every conversation is an opportunity to practice, to learn, and to connect.
That's right. Embrace those moments, even if you make a few mistakes along the way. It's all part of the journey.
And remember, the beauty of travel is that it's a never-ending story. There are always new places to discover, new experiences to be had, and new stories to be told.
So as you go about your day today, I encourage you to think about a past trip that you loved. What details come to mind? How would you describe it to someone who's never been there? Or maybe you're already dreaming of your next adventure and start using those descriptive words and phrases to bring those visions to life.
And don't be afraid to share those stories with the world. You never know who you might inspire.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into talking about travel in English. We hope you found it helpful and inspiring.
It was a pleasure.
Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and please share it with your friends.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is to remember that, talking about travel, it's all about connection. It's about sharing those experiences that have, really shaped us and those places that have tugged on our hearts, those moments that have made us, laugh or cry or just stand in awe.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's about using language as a bridge to, connect with others and to share those stories that make us human and to inspire each other to explore the world around us.
And even if you're still learning English, don't let that hold you back. Like every conversation is a chance, an opportunity to practice, to learn, and to connect.
That's right. Embrace those moments, even if you make a few mistakes along the way. It's all part of the journey.
And remember, the beauty of travel is that it's a never-ending story. There are always new places to discover and new experiences to be had, new stories to be told.
So as you go about your day today, I encourage you to think about, a past trip that you loved. What details come to mind? How would you describe it to someone who's never been there? Or maybe you're already dreaming about your next adventure and start using those descriptive words and phrases to bring those visions to life.
And don't be afraid to share those stories with the world. You never know who you might inspire.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into talking about travel in English. We hope you found it helpful and inspiring.
It was a pleasure.
Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and please share it with your friends.